Our last video I mistakenly labeled as part 4. It's actually part 3. So to make up for that, we'll call this one part 4A, and it is going to be the longest video. So let's get started. We describe next how communication and decision-making styles, risk-taking, and creativity affect group decisions. That's quite a list. Let's start with intragroup behavior. Communication and decision-making are two major activities that impact intragroup behavior. We start with communication. The social system within a group helps to dictate the way information and is communicated internally as well as externally. Several roles function within each social system. The role played is the result of an individual's knowledge and personality and the needs of the group. And we list 4 here. First, the opinion maker is typically the informal leader. The gatekeeper controls the flow of information to the group members. The liaison links the group to other groups. And the follower goes along with the opinion leader or the group at large. Decision making. How are decisions made within groups? Group decision making is related to styles, risk-taking, and creativity. Several decision-making styles are listed in the chapter, in figure 4.3, by the way. When making decisions, individuals display a personal style that reflects how they perceive the situation and how they process information. 2 dimensions determine these decision-making styles: a value orientation and a tolerance for ambiguity. Value orientation focuses on concern for the task and technical matters as opposed to people and social concerns. In other words, the work itself. Tolerance for ambiguity measures how much a person needs structure and control as opposed to thriving in uncertain situations. And each group, of course, offers different degrees of this certainty. These 2 orientations with their low and high dimensions result in 4 styles of decision-making leadership, or simply decision-making. The first is called the directive style, where there's a low tolerance for ambiguity, and it's oriented toward the task and technical concerns in decision-making. We would call this an autocratic leadership style, or just plain old bossy. Number 2, analytical style, a high tolerance for ambiguity, and a strong task and technical orientation, an autocratic leadership style as well. The conceptual style provides a high tolerance for ambiguity and for strong people and social concerns, an idealistic and indecisive approach to decision-making. The behavioral style provides low tolerance for ambiguity and for strong people and social concerns. There is a difficulty of making tough decisions that might offend some. The implications of these styles are as follows. Research has shown that decision makers often rely of 2 or 3 different styles, which vary by occupation, job level, and culture. We now take a look at risk-taking. Findings show that groups are more effective than individuals in decision-making, and that individuals tend to take greater risks when they are in groups. The risk shift phenomenon is the tendency to make greater risks in a group than when acting alone. We call it again risky shift phenomenon. If a group decision is wrong, the individual feels less guilt. Risk is a function of knowledge, so that the less an individual knows about an area, the greater the risk. Risk-taking is socially desirable in our culture, so groups take a risk level that is acceptable to the average person. We look at creativity next. Some decisions require creative thinking, a process that has 4 phases. First, the preparation stage. Group members gather information to make the creative decision. Secondly, the incubation stage. The group sits back and lets the subconscious work on the problem. Number 3 illumination stage. The groups realize that the best decision to make, what it is. And finally, the verification stage. The groups modify or make final changes to the solution. Research shows again that larger groups produce more innovative solutions. Groups with innovative members generate creative ideas, and organizational support influences creativity. How can individuals increase creativity and generate solutions? Walt Disney's CEO feels that creativity is a result of careful, deliberate thought, not a bolt out of the blue, which is a reference to the Pinocchio cartoon, which was created by Disney Studios. Techniques exist to stimulate creative thinking. They are brainstorming, which is a freewheeling approach for generating creative ideas, and dialectic inquiry, which involves the use of structured discussion and debate in arriving at a final solution. Researchers have been experimenting with electronic brainstorming, in which individuals use computers to communicate and share ideas, which doesn't require that they be in the same place or even operating at the same time necessarily. Empathetic design approach is presented in Table 4.1. The empathetic design relies heavily on visual information by watching how people respond. Companies can generate more creative and consumer-pleasing products and services. We talk about also left brain, right brain thinking. In recent years, attention has been focused on brain function. Left brain. People are logical, rational, and detailed, active, and objective-oriented. Right brain, people are spontaneous, emotional, holistic, nonverbal, and visual. Left brain people have a preference for routine tasks or jobs that require precision, whereas right brain people like jobs that are non-routine or call for idea generation. Most people are left brain dominant and tend to be less creative than those who are right brain dominant. Some organizations are providing whole brain training in which participants learn how to use each side of the brain. The intent to make highly rational thinkers more creative and highly intuitive types more detailed and logical. So we're attempting to spread those skills over both groups. Finally, we turn to intergroup behavior. Intergroup behavior is interactive between or among two or more groups. The purpose of intergroup behavior is to achieve high performance, but sometimes power struggles develop between the groups and conflict resolution is called for. Achieving high intergroup performance. High intergroup performance depends on several functions. Each group has to know what it is supposed to be doing. There has to be a cooperation amongst all the groups, and there must be careful planning of all interfaces between the groups. And this concludes this section. We'll turn to our next two sections because they're brief, cover them in a single video.